Hello, justtwogood here, and I'm finally reviewing this very strange spring 2021 release of the Spider-Man vs. Doc Ock mech.
This is the LEGO Marvel Spider-Man and Dr. Octopus mech battle set with 305 pieces and 2 minifigures, retailing for $20 in the United States. Like I said, such a random release, but let's take a look at the minifigures first. Finally, we have the complete version of Spider-Man, unless you want like leg printing, because this has the dual molded legs, the arm printing, front and back torso and head printing. You can see some more printing at the side of those arms as well. For some reason, the 2021 sets, which introduced that fantastic looking arm printing, did not have dual molded legs. So this is the first one to have dual molded legs in 2021, but they were pretty prevalent in 2020 and 2019 Spider-Man figures. So I don't know why they skimped out on the January wave. So that might be attractive to some people who are just getting into LEGO Spider-Man. But then again, like I said, you could get these dual molded legs and some cheap sets, other $20 sets from 2020 and 2019 if you could still find them on store shelves. But anyways, this little web blast right here, all you have to do is press and that flies out. The Doc Ock figure is the same one found in the Spider-Man monster truck from earlier in this year with that torso and face print that I actually quite like. No attachment at the neck because all the tentacles are found on the actual neck of the set. You can see the alternate facial expression, which has a pretty funny grin there. I love getting this hairpiece in brown. It's a hairpiece I like seeing more and more of, though we've gotten in brown a few times before. For the builds, we have 2 mechs. These are a lot like the $10 mechs you'd find on store shelves to a T. Like, this is in the same line as those. I mean, this Spider-Man one is mostly a recolor of the Miles Morales one from this year. And then there was another Spider-Man mech released last year. So it's just mind-boggling to me. But anyways, let's take a look at the more interesting mech, the more unique one, which is Dr. Octopus one. Because you see there hasn't been a $10 Dr. Octopus mech set yet. This reminds me of the Dr. Octopus Tentacle Trap set from 2016, I believe it was. That design is a lot bigger. It was actually a $40 set. This is like a miniature version of that, and I think I like this one better than that version. I never really cared for that set. But at this $10 mech size, it just feels more fitting for the character. It looks more proportionate and not oversized. I like the design with the tentacles at the back. How those are attached are actually fixed in place with those 3 axle Technic pieces. But you can get some movement there just from those hinge connections. And then at the end here, so you have 3 different points of articulation there. And then you could rotate this attachment, which isn't like the smoothest rotation, but with the Technic pin connections if you want to move those little tendrils. And then those tendrils themselves can be moved up and down with their clip connections. It's really annoying to actually build 3 identical ones of these, but it's not the most tedious process out there compared to some other builds that I've done before. And you get a total of 4 of those tentacles. Oh no, this one just disconnected. And each of them have the same points of articulation and points of rotation with those pieces. But that's not all of the articulation, because this being a mini mech, you have miniature ball joints all around with the legs and the hands. But let's first start with that body part there. The color scheme with the yellowish orange and the green works for the body here. You have a sticker on that sloped piece at the front. Some of these gold bar pieces, as I call them, but in yellowish orange. This frame right here in green, I believe, is exclusive to the set in that coloring. That's pretty cool. You know how those work, where they're clipped on, so you can just lift it forward like this. Removing your minifigure who was attached to those little divider pieces first introduced in LEGO Friends. But anyways, plopping Doc Ock back inside there, we get to the shoulder joints right here, which you have some articulation there. A sticker on that sloped part. Same with the one on this side as well. Some dish pieces to top off that part. And then another point of articulation with this mid joint. And then you have another point of articulation with this joint near the hand. The hand itself has 4 fingers, 3 at the front, then 1 at the side right here. And there's no sticker or anything right here. But you could use those fingers to clutch minifigures like Spider-Man. And also you could use those tendrils for the same purpose, but even with a better clutch, I would say, with how you could position those little spiky tendrils. Just putting him like this and have him carried around on the mech. The build for the other arm is identical, just flipped to the other side. For the lower half of the mech, there's still that one bumper piece right here that keeps it from rotating all around. I still find that hilarious in its placement. For the leg parts, we also have 3 different points of articulation at the top right here. No stickers or anything on these. In this middle section right here, and then with the feet at the bottom. I like how the feet are flat. I think that's pretty cool, and how smooth and everything that this stands up. They use some inverted tile pieces, some dish pieces, and hold studs as well. Some stickers at the very bottom right here, and that's the same with this other leg as well. But that's really it for the Doc Ock mech. Now let's take a look at the Spider-Man mech. So for the Spider-Man mech, as I said back in 2020, we had that one version which looks different from this version, but it was still a $10 Spider-Man mech of the scale, so that's one reason you wouldn't really need another Spider-Man mech so soon, a year after. And then this year they had the Miles Morales Spider-Man mech, which is almost a clone of this build, but the Miles Morales one just has a better color scheme. This one uses a lot of the same builds and everything, but it's just so uninteresting compared to the Miles Morales one for the color scheme, and then the Spider-Man mech of 2020 for the build. This is a very flat mech, if you ask me. One of the most boring mechs we've gotten in these $10 mech lines. It also looks pretty bad from the back here, where you have this inconsistency of color, just because they need to put this 1x2 to hold this part in the middle right here. It would have been cool to maybe get that in a dark blue, and then it would just look a little bit more consistent with this other leg. But anyways, they use translucent web pieces, which those are pretty cool to get. But they did come in that Doc Ock Monster Truck set, that the Doc Ock minifigure this set comes in from this year, which is a $40 set. Then also the Spider-Man Lair, which is what, 70, 80, I don't remember. But anyways, there is an exclusive print, which is the shield part right here. That's pretty cool to get, and you can lift this open and remove your Spider-Man minifigure the same way as a Doc Ock mech. And all of those web pieces just kind of make for the detailing at the side of the mech and everything there, whether it be kind of clipped on right here, which this looks awkward if you ask me, just this random little web sticking out. This looks pretty cool though, having a web slung from the hand part, which the fingers work just like the Doc Ock, where you have 3 at the front there, then 1 at the side. You have 2 points of articulation for the arms, 1 at this mid joint and then 1 at the shoulder. And then the same for the build on the other side, 1 at the shoulder, 1 at the mid joint. Reflections of one another in terms of the build, aside from this one missing that slung web. Other than that, same point of rotation in the middle right there. For the bottom half, you have the hip joints right here, then you have knee joints right here, and then foot joints right here. The feet themselves use that Miles Morales styling where they're a little thinner. Those don't work as well here because, again, that color clash of the black just doesn't really mix with the rest of the dark blue and the red for the set, and then the grays that just kind of show with those bowl joints and cup pieces. It's a mishmash of colors. You can see a look from the back for those feet as well, and those legs. And then at the very back of the mech, you get some extra detailing with those webs and those little almost jets just sticking out with those miniature web pieces. And one thing to note between the mechs is that the Doc Ock one uses all of the stickers. But that's it for the builds list set. Let's take a look at the packaging and the final verdict. Since I didn't expect this to be a $20 set, I thought it was going to be that $40 big box, but it's kind of weird seeing these builds on a $20 thin box. Like, those are pretty substantial builds for a $20 thin box. But anyways, you can see a look at the set from the back. 2 small instructions, which at the back of one of them, we have some different shots of the spring releases. Well, 1 spring release, then 2 January releases. The release of the set just boggles my mind. People would buy it for the Doc Ock mech because that's the most unique part. There's not a Doc Ock mech on the market. For a $10 Doc Ock mech, this would have been a pretty good recommendation. But instead, they make it a $20 set. They shove in this Spider-Man mech. The Spider-Man mech being a ripoff of the Miles Morales mech from earlier in this year, which has a better color scheme. And then there was a Spider-Man mech last year in 2020, which was $10. Why is this set including a Spider-Man mech? Why couldn't it have just been a $10 Doc Ock mech? It's like they couldn't sell a Doc Ock set on his own? I don't know. And then the design of the Spider-Man mech does have 2 cool parts. There's A, the dual molded legs, which is something that the 2021 Spider-Man sets in the beginning of the year just should have included. And B, it has this nice print at the front. I'll take that. This Doc Ock mech, while it's not the best build out there, is actually pretty cool in the line of $10 mechs. But again, it's harder to get now because it's not a $10 mech. Instead, it's a $20 mech. Still, at the end of the day, this is a $20 set that doesn't feel overpriced. It feels like a decent deal. I mean, if you're a price per piece guy, this design has 305 pieces, so it's pretty off the charts there. But the actual pieces are a lot of small pieces, as with these mech sets. The mech sets usually have about 150 pieces, so it's not anything mind-blowing if you look at it a little bit deeper. So if all things considered, it's a mixed bag. I'd give it a 5 out of 10. I like some parts of it, but just the idea around here and half of the build just feels like a rehash and unnecessary. But anyways, that's my 2 cents. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll see you guys later. Subscribe for more LEGO Marvel content. Peace out.